Okay, so I'm climbing what is locally known as Alpe d'Huez. The name was given by the guys I used to ride with back when I was a teenager. And this climb, we would only do it once a year as a group, and we'd do it the day after Thanksgiving. And I don't know why we would pick that time of year, because this climb leads to Blue Knob Ski Resort, and it's the second highest mountain in Pennsylvania. So sometimes the roads down in the valleys would be fine, and up here they'd be icy, especially since this road doesn't really get much maintenance attention. Anyway, so I forget what the total elevation gain of this thing is, but I believe it's the highest or longest, greatest elevation change road climb in PA. Although one approach from Mount Davis, I think, is pretty close. Might beat it. Mount Davis is the highest mountain in PA, but you can't climb or can't ride to the very top on the road. The road doesn't go to the top. Kind of skirts around the shoulder of it. Anyway, so this climb, I think it averages 12 or 13%, but it's staircase kind of climb, where you have steeper sections and some flatter sections, and it just repeats. Steep, flat, steep, flat. The flat might be, like right here, this is about as flat as it gets. This is about, I'm guessing 2, 3, 4% right in here. It's almost false flat, but it doesn't last long, and you start going up again. The steepest sections, I think, on this thing are upper teens, middle teens. It's at least 15%. There's one section, if I recall, that feels worse, more like 20. Anyway, let's see if I can get to the top of this bastard. I've never done it on a recumbent before. I'm pretty certain I can do it. I don't think I'll be able to do it with much style, though. It's just survival. I don't know if you can see that. We're going from a false flat to a steep ramp. Just eyeballing it based on past reference points, I'd say this is 15%. I'm in my lowest gear now. Struggling a little here. Okay, be back later. Okay, I'm about 80% the way up this thing. But if you look at this map here, elevation, you can see I got one last really nasty pitch to go, and then I'm done. This is like a pretty decent size false flat, maybe a quarter mile long, that I have to get through first. Okay, so I made it. The summit. I'm up here at the ski area. You can see the lifts there. And according to this sign here, it's at 3,146 feet. Mount Davis is at 3,213 feet, so not a big difference. Of course, where you start on the road climb in the valley below it is variable too. So I'm gonna have to double check my claim that this is the highest elevation road climb in the state of Pennsylvania. As you can see, I got my trusty P38 here. It's a very good climbing bike. I've got a couple other bikes that are similar in terms of how good they climb, but the one thing this bike has they don't have is a upright seat. And when you're climbing for, I don't know, what was it, 45 minutes? I'm gonna have to check that too. It just gets tiring on such a steep grade for that long, even with a neck rest. I'd much rather have a more upright seat. So in general, I like laid back seats for aerodynamics, but for this ride today, who cares about that? So it's a pretty nice view from up here, isn't it? I come up here all the time. I come up the other direction though. So I'm gonna actually, that's the road I came up on. You can actually keep going past the ski lodge here and down the other side. And I usually come up and then go back down the other side that I'm gonna descend just in a minute here. Like I said, I haven't done this climb. Well, I've never done a recumbent before, but I hadn't done it on any bike for probably at least 15 years, so I forgot how hard it was. It actually wasn't as bad as I remember. That said, it was pretty bad. All right, folks, well, that's all for now. See you later. Okay, I wanted to do a little epilogue here to the ride I did to show you what the elevation gains are and compare this to what I suspect is the other highest, or contender for the highest elevation gain road climb in Pennsylvania. So, starting near the town of Claysburg, the real climb begins here at the intersection of right-hand, left-hand gap roads. I think this little hamlet here is called Ski Gap. Anyway, in any event, you go up left-hand gap and then you end up on Overland Road. And let me switch to what is on terrain. So let me back out. You can see it kind of curls around the ridge here. Pretty abrupt terrain we got going on here. And it flattens out as you get up the mountain a ways. You end up stopping up here at the ski resort, of course. If you look at the overall stats of this ride, of this climb, it's 1,604 feet elevation gain, minus 10 feet. So there was a little bit of a small drop. I remember there being just one false flat area in here that actually seemed like it went downhill. So in fact, maybe it does. But you can see it's over 4.5 miles there. So it's a pretty compact climb, pretty serious grade over. So that total elevation change is 1,594 feet. So I wanted to compare that to the Mount Davis climb, which is near the town of Confluence, Pennsylvania, which is along the Gap Trail. Some of you may have heard of and be familiar with. I've done this route once, and I remember we left out of town on 523, and I distinctly remember making a left turn and hitting a very steep road. And what I recall, and this is the route, pretty sure this is the route we took. I remember climbing up a long ways and then descending a while and then going along kind of near a lake. You could kind of see it a little bit, and then it climbing again, and you hit the high point. Mount Davis is here. This right here is a gravel road. This road along here is the paved road, and this is the high point I stopped the route at here. And what's interesting about this is you can see it in the profile here. You climb up and then you actually go downhill a ways before you start climbing again. That middle section is sort of kind of separates the climb into two pieces. But if we look at the overall stats, 2145 feet of climbing, 416 feet of descending over 10 miles. So the overall net change is 1732, which is higher than Blue Knob. It's 138 feet of extra climbing, but it's spread out over 10 miles. And because you have such a decent descent area over the middle of the route, up here approaching the lake, it really doesn't feel like a single climb. To me, it feels like a more drawn out thing moving over terrain. Two climbs sort of separated by a little bit of descent and falls flat. So, it's a matter of opinion. Is this the highest elevation change road climb in Pennsylvania? Or is it Blue Knob, which is a much more obvious? Once you start at the bottom down here, it's pretty much nothing but up till you get to the summit. So, over less than half the distance, 10 miles versus 4.5 miles. In my opinion, this is the highest elevation road climb in Pennsylvania.